Did you know that the first known female teacher in ancient Greece was Aspasia of Miletus? She was an influential educator and the partner of Pericles, a prominent Athenian statesman. Welcome to the Scholarly Sisterhood podcast, a podcast that is building a stronger and more inclusive scholarly community for women around the world. This podcast is a platform for female scholars to share their story. And my hope is that from these stories, we can create a more supportive community for women navigating the academic world. I'm your host, Anna Blankenship, and I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to learn the story of Emily Dickson, who is a drama teacher and grade level leader at an international school in Vienna. So without further ado, let's go meet today's scholarly sister. Well, I'm just so excited because today we have with us Emily Dickson. And Emily, just welcome on the podcast. And I'm so excited to learn more about you today.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Well, I think we should just start. Can you tell us what you're doing right now? So where are you and what are you doing?
Sure. So right now I am living in Vienna with my family. I'm working at an international school here. I am a drama teacher and I am also a grade level leader, which I think in Scotland, the equivalent would be like a guidance teacher. So I oversee a whole year group, grade 9, which I think was probably about 4th year. So people who are really in the throttle of the teenage years, that's who I work with every day. Yeah.
Oh, is that challenging?
Yes, but I have to say I love it. It's an absolute privilege. It is such a unique moment in everybody's life because everybody at one point goes from 14 to 15 and the hormones are flying and the social circles are really difficult to navigate. And there's always, family changes happening at that time as well because parents are trying to learn how to move away from being the manager of your life almost to the consultant of your life. And that is a really hard transition as a parent. And it's also really hard, I think, for the young person to figure out where the boundaries are, where the where the line is, not to cross. Sometimes they cross, So for me, it's the most wonderful age group. I love it.
Oh, I love that. And I think we should dive into that more later. But I want to start with, how did you get to Vienna? So I'm assuming, have you always thought about teaching in Vienna?
No. No. So basically, how did we get to Vienna was originally we moved here because of my husband's job. And we've actually lived all over the world. We've lived in the Middle East. We've lived in the States. Obviously, I'm from Scotland. And we kind of made an agreement early on between the two of us that we would only move to places where we both could find employment, because it's actually really common that one partner has to kind of give up their, not give up, but has to gently put aside their path and dreams for a wee while the other person is soaring. And we both agreed very early on that actually we really want to have a meaningful and fulfilling career. And so that sometimes has meant that one of us has had to say no to big opportunities because the other person wasn't able to find, their moment, wherever the place was.
Have there been any opportunities that it was kind of hard for you or your husband to say no?
Yes, there has been. Not necessarily for me, mostly for him, I have to say. Yes, there was, but I don't.
Could you give me an example or?
He was given a big opportunity in Washington, D.C. So you can probably put 2 and 2 together about who's in Washington, D.C. But at that time, it just wasn't going to work for both of us. So yeah, sometimes we go back down memory lane. But the truth is that this is a wee bit off topic, but I remember reading years ago that one of the most important decisions you'll make in terms of a career so if you're a married woman, in my case I am, is actually who your life partner is going to be.
Mm.
Because you want someone who's going to be your champion and who's going to be there for you. And that has been something that we've both really been able to do for each other. And, you know, he is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I can't actually believe that I got him. You know, he's an amazing human being, so kind and does incredible work. But we ended up in Vienna ultimately because of him. And then this job came up. And in the drama teaching world, you know, in international schools, they're not often huge departments.
Mm.
So I was at home. I had two small babies at the time. And I just thought, I just need to go for it. And I did. And it worked out.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
it. That's been tricky though. I have to say, for all the full-time working mothers out there, that is a tricky one to do, but you know, you just go for it.
So tell us more about that since you brought it up. How have you managed that?
Well, first of all, you can't do it all. And there are lots of things you just have to let go of. You know, your life looks so far from Instagram and Pinterest, it's not even funny. And those pictures do nothing for you but make you feel really sad. Because when you walk in your house is a mess, your kids are, you know, full of muck. But I just had to actually, in all honesty, if you really want to know what I did, I actually had a wee list of things. These are non-negotiable for me. And it was about three or four things. And I thought, if I can just manage this, then I think the rest of it will sort itself out, you know.
Mm.
So, for example, non-negotiable was that during like bath time and bedtime, I wasn't shouting and screaming at them, which I know sounds a bit silly, but when you are thinking, oh my goodness, tomorrow morning I need to get up, I've got a full shift ahead of me, I've got 7 classes waiting on me, you start to push and rush the most important people in your life. And you start to be really sharp and you don't have time to enjoy these wee tiny moments. And I was noticing sometimes that I would give more time to other people's children at my work and be more indulgent of kind of whimsical moments than I would with my own children. So that's when I sat down, I wrote that list and I thought, right, this is not on, because it goes, I mean, it's so cliche, but it goes so fast. And I thought, I just don't want to miss what, you know, I'm already missing a lot with running about, but I don't want to miss even more. So try and slow down in bath time and story time. I just said to myself, even if I feel it's taken forever, I'm not going to rush them. And so things like that, you know, but did, you know, did my living room have to look perfect every night before I went to bed? Did I do the dishes every night before I went to bed? Absolutely not. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even a mother yet, and I'm already thinking that, you know. I think sometimes you just that's tomorrow's job, and you need to spend time with whoever is with you, or just sometimes you just need to go to bed.
I thought you do, and I think sleep. I mean, I know everybody says sleep is the most important thing, but I am telling you, there is a fine line between sleep and your mental health not being well. There is such a fine line. Your capacity to make decisions, your capacity to extend kindness and generosity to yourself, not just to other people, but to cut yourself some slack, to be able to extend a bit of grace to yourself. Sleep is so important. And there's lots of research to say, you know, it doesn't matter if you get 8 hours after 2 a.m., it has to happen before midnight.
Mm.
You need to be in bed before midnight. But, you know, it's easier said than done. And hands up, I spent years going to bed at 1 a.m., but I'm really trying to change it now.
Mm. Well, that's
Yeah,
probably a good thing. All right, I want to talk more about this drama. So you're really into theater,
love
right?
it.
So
Mhm.
tell us that story?
So I love the arts, have always loved the arts as a young kid, was always putting on shows out the back garden, charging the neighbours, you know. But my mum and my dad, I have to acknowledge, are huge fans of the arts. I grew up in a very vivacious, charismatic family. My mum is actually one of 9 children. And we all kind of grew up in a small town together. So, of course, they've all got children. So, you know, I would go to school with all my cousins, I'd meet everybody down the main street, that kind of thing. But parties, first communions, New Year's, birthdays, anniversaries, I mean, you name it, we celebrated it. And very quickly, we'd always start off as well, we were always quite lucky because we've got 2 chefs in the family. So they would always do the buffet. And then everybody would come around and, you know, then the guitars would start getting pulled out. And all my aunts were the most phenomenal singers, like, you know, 2-3 part harmonies easily. And they would all gather around and my granddad would play the piano. He was a phenomenal piano player. And my granny as well, actually, she was a great accordion player. And, you know, we would all squeeze into these wee tiny living rooms and we would sing our hearts out and we would do a whole rendition of everything from Scottish traditional folk songs to the Beatles, to Rolling Stones, to Ella Fitzgerald, to, you know, Aretha Frank, you name it, they did it all. They had a whole repertoire and everybody had a song and would do their turn. And so for sure, growing up in that environment where you're seeing your elders in your family dancing and singing and clapping the hand, I mean, just the most phenomenal rhythm. You know, one person would start and another person would join in, and you know, nobody would rehearse, nobody would have music sheets, everybody would just be kind of strumming along. And it was really, you know, my cousins and I, now when we reflect on it, it was such a magical way to grow up. But it's like a lot of Scottish families, actually, like a lot of old Scottish families, bigger Scottish families, that's actually what they did. They made their own entertainment, you know. And so then I think seeing that, I always loved the arts. So loved music, loved drama, and then always loved the theatre, loved the magic, and also the feeling of this is, I can't believe this person is portraying this incredible emotion live in front of me, like right now, like I could touch that person, you know. Anyway, so both my mom and dad actually were teachers, and so I kind of was thinking, oh, I'm not going to do teaching. But when I was at university, a professor said to me, you know, Emily, you should really do drama teaching. And I said, oh, I don't know. And anyway, long story, she was right. So then I went to, I went to New York University and to NYU, did my master's degree, and that was phenomenal. That was an amazing experience. Went to shows every day, but just also working with people who are like-minded. And for me, my angle always was that drama was the lesson in the week where I would see students kind of breathe a little bit. But I also loved the discovery that would always happen, because you would always have some students come in and they'd be thinking, I hate this. She's going to make me stand up and sing a solo, you know, or they're actually really scared because it's quite this, there's no desks to hide behind, there's no chairs, you know, you're often working in a black box theatre style and you're moving your body, and ironically the freedom would actually intimidate them sometimes. But there's always a discovery, I think, that happens where they realize that, and this is what I think the arts is still doing so well in education, is that in order to succeed, you have to fail, you have to try, you have to be willing to take a risk. You also have to be able to do it in front of other people, and other people need to be able to say to you, that's all right, don't worry about that. Oh, that idea didn't work out, we'll try another one. And so both parties, the audience and the performer, have a very important role in a classroom, because the audience has to learn, these young people have to learn to be able to say to someone, don't worry about it, to validate and to be able to say, I saw what you tried. I can see you really gave it your best shot there. Actually, that idea wasn't executed very well, but don't worry about it. But the performer also has to be able to say, I'm going to move my body this way and see what happens, or I'm going to change my voice this way and see what happens. So there's massive vulnerability and massive risk taking. But if you, and I think this is really important, and most drama teachers do this really well, cultivate a real sense of a safe space, and then you can just see these armors come down and they're just trying, and it's amazing.
How do you do that? How do you create a safe space in a classroom?
So you make explicit what is implicit. This is a safe space. I just tell them, we are going to try different things. We're going to do different activities. Some of them are going to work, some of them are not. But in order to be a creative and successful, you will have to endure some failure. You will have to get comfortable with that feeling a little bit. It really helps if the people, and I call them our community, because I want them to feel we're not just in a classroom. I say, it's really important that the people in our community also support each other, because everybody at one point in our course is going to have a great high and we're going to celebrate them, but they're also going to have a wee bit of a low and we're going to support them. And, they love it. They always go, oh, that's great, thanks.
Well, of course, who wouldn't like that?
Because they just think it's, I don't know, I think it's a nice space to have in your week, where you get to be a different person for a while, or whatever it is we're doing. Maybe it's something silly,
Do you ever see them, I guess, carry that over into other areas of their life? Because to me, it's just so obvious that this is applicable to every area of your life. If you want to start a business, you want to have, you have to be creative, and then you have to be vulnerable, you have to be willing to fail, and you want that safe space. So do you see your students doing that?
Oh, massive transferable skills. It's huge. And the thing that always really gets me is when other teachers acknowledge it. They say, listen, that person's really grown in confidence, and I will know, well, they've got the lead in the school play. Or that person's really working really hard, because a lot of, especially if you're in a production, a huge amount of being in a production is self-management skills, and you really need to organize your time. And we all know not all teenagers are really great at that, but it actually is a skill that they start to develop and hone, and then of course it's transferred into other areas and how they speak, how they present themselves. We do quite a lot of work in our school around college counselling, getting people ready for university, if that's the choice that they want to go, the path they want to go down. And of course, drama is massive in that, about being able to respond, listen, react. There is an element of you're playing a game. So, and they have to learn how to do that a little bit, and I think drama is just this wonderful, I think all arts in all schools are essential. It's vital to who we are as people. It's what makes us interesting as well, I love it. It's just the best. Absolutely. Honestly, the best job in the world. I really do.
Hey, it sounds like it. So speaking of your job, tell us a little bit more about what it's like to be a grade school leader.
Okay, so this is the other side of it, which is where I'm kind of the person, the way I describe it is I hold the space for the student to have their whole life, like I hold a space where their whole life is kind of held. So that what that means is I am not involved in the academics necessarily, but there's the student, then you have their parents, you have what's going on socially, and we cannot underestimate the pressure that young people are experiencing in this particular part of history, what social media is doing to our young people. It is, I just think when young people come out of this phase of life unscathed, it's incredible. It's such a hard time already, and now we are adding so much additional stress to it with all of the social media pressures. It's unbelievable what happens on a day-to-day basis, and I do think parents would be horrified and shocked if they really realised what their child was enduring and looking at and being exposed to. So there's that element. There's also the element of how are they in school in terms of well-being, and that's where I come in. In the course that we run is around what's your rights and responsibilities. So what is okay, so in Austria, the legal age for whatever is this. In this country, the legal age. But does that mean you should be drinking? Does that mean, what are the effects of it? You know, really trying to give information, not telling people what to do necessarily, but trying to help them make informed decisions about their life. And of course, being in an international school, it is, you know, there's 14 nationalities in one class, and there's like 21 languages spoken.
Whoa.
It's truly international, truly international. And a lot of our students are third culture kids. So, you know, their mum is from Japan, their dad is from Denmark, and they were actually raised in South Africa. And now they're in Vienna because they're here for 2 years because their parents have been posted here with the embassy. And so they really are third culture kids. And so then rights and responsibilities ties into that very uniquely, because what they think they are entitled to is different from then the host country, which is Austria. So anyway, we go into all of that, which is kind of fascinating. And so for me, I really see my role as holding space for the student. And sometimes they will say, oh, yeah, I'm really struggling in this French class, or I'm really struggling in this math class. And you have to do a bit of investigative work around, is it the teaching style? Is there maybe perhaps, do we need to do kind of some screening around learning support issues? Is it the person who you're actually sitting next to? You know, what is it? Because it's always first period on a Monday morning that just gets you down? You know, so there's always a wee bit of investigative work around when they start to complain, but a lot of also what I try to do is identify patterns, you know, in the criteria, you know, that we're in the MYP system, the IB system, which is the International Baccalaureate, in the middle years program, and each subject has got this 4 criteria. I don't want to go into it, but what I'm trying to say is that you can start to identify patterns. So if they're always struggling with criterion A, that's around knowledge. So then perhaps there's something that keeps coming up around language for this child. Is it that they don't have effective study skills? They're not using flashcards. So there's loads and loads of things you can do. And I think that's a big part of my job, is to help people feel like, you've come with me with a problem. There's actually 17 ways we can solve this, and you get to choose which path you want to go down. That doesn't work, let's try another one. I think that's really important, that people feel they've got lots of options, because we certainly don't have a, you know, one size fits all approach. That's not who we are as learners. I mean, is it?
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not, you know, and teachers often teach how the teacher learns. So it's really important to discover how you learn and to do a bit of work around that. And that's also a wee part of my job as well, helping people figure out, okay, sounds like you really enjoy auditory. Can we get that book on an audiobook for you? That kind of thing, you know. Just
I
make
love that.
possibilities happen, you know.
I love that. And it sounds like both being a grade school leader and being a drama teacher actually go very well. They're hand in hand, because
Oh,
in
yes.
both areas you're having to be creative. You're having to, okay, let's try something. Oh, that didn't work. Let's, we got to shed that off and try something else. And also creating that safe space and that community. So wow, how fascinating.
100%. And can I just add, because I'm a drama teacher, one thing I do a lot is role play. So, for example, just a couple of weeks ago, I mean, I had this big, burly young man in my office, and the thing is, he's 6 foot nothing, but he's actually only 14. He's just a wee boy, but he looks massive, right? And the thing is, his communication skills are not amazing, but that, they will be one day, but we're not there yet. And he's having a wee bit of difficulty with a math teacher. So, and when I say to him, and did you tell the math teacher that that you're struggling? No, 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 no. It's like the caveman talk. They just mumble grumble. And so actually sometimes what I do is, let's imagine I'm the teacher, and we make it funny, and they always end up laughing, but they can actually see that they're ridiculous sometimes. And I do feel that, I hear all the time, oh, for goodness sake, why doesn't my child know how to speak? Why don't they know how? Well, in international schools, we're email mad, everybody writes emails all the time. And why? Imagine a young person writing an email like this to their teacher. Hey, Mrs. D, like that. And I do feel, if you don't teach them, how will they know? Why are we mad at our young people? Nobody's actually sat down, taken a moment and said, listen, let's talk about email etiquette. This is, don't speak to me the way you speak to your buddy in the park, Also, let's talk about professional etiquette. Think of school a little bit like your job. How I am at my work is not how I am in the house. It's not how I am out with my friends. It's not how I am at a conference. So I think they need to start to build these skills, and it's something that you have to work on. And so when you do a wee bit of role play with these wonderful characters that are in my grade level, then you can feel you're going to give them a wee taste of success. They go off, they have a positive interaction, and it proves to them, oh, actually, when I say please and thank you, when I take my time, when I knock the door and I don't barge in, when I wait till the teacher's finished speaking, these are actually little skills that are really going to help me. So I do see a big part of my job is helping people get second and third and fourth chances.
I love that. Oh, well, all right. You've been in education all over the world, all right? So as a women leader in education who's been all over the world, what challenges have you come across?
I would say, well, perhaps early on in my career, I definitely experienced a feeling of, was I good enough? Did what I think count? Did I really know was I really able to contribute? When you're in a big department and there's loud voices and when you're the new person, you are very hesitant because you're so worried about your job and people liking you and things like that. But the best advice I got very early on in my career was, know your craft. Know your stuff. Okay, you don't really understand about the homework policy. You might not know about the grievance procedure. You might not know, that's fine. But do you know how to teach your subject? Do you know your subject inside out? And are you intentionally being a learner of your subject? Are you curious? Are you building your knowledge all the time? Are you staying up to, I think a big part of what I need to do is, what are the new shows coming out? Who are the new theatre companies? Things like that. Are you staying current with your practice? So I decided I was just going to get really good at that. And I was going to make that kind of my mission. And I did that for several years. And it actually really worked, because then what happens is people really, they might not like you socially, or they might not whatever, but actually they respect who you are as a profession. professionalism and the work that you're producing is good work. And they see it in the students, and and you start to feel more relaxed, and you don't sweat the small stuff, that kind of thing. So that's one thing. But now for me, what I do feel where I'm at right now, because I've been at this quite a long time, I would say, is having taught all over the world that we are all so much more alike than we are not. And I have found that over and over again. When you look into the eyes of a mother or a father who is pulling their hair out with their child, every parent wants the same thing. Every parent wants their child to be successful, to be happy, to have friends, to feel a sense of pride in what they're doing. And that, to me, has been a wonderful thing, because, when the Jordanian's mother looking at me, or when the Glasgow father is looking at me, or when the American, you know what I mean? It's everybody wants the same thing. And I do feel that in this world right now where we are, we've kind of lost our core a little bit. We've kind of lost, not, I feel like I shouldn't say that maybe, but I experience a lot of families who are just thinking, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And I think a lot of it is around feeling that your child has access to so much information beyond you as a parent and beyond their family now.
Yeah.
It's the instant gratification that is happening, and the immediate response of everything, is, I think you cannot underestimate what that is doing. I already said this, what that is doing to young people, when I was wee and people went out on a Friday night, and I didn't know till Monday that they'd all gone out and didn't invite me. And I had a really great weekend with my family, and my self-esteem was intact, and I had a wonderful time with my cousins. Now, if you're going out on a Friday night, I know at 6:03, because you've posted it everywhere, and I know what you're wearing, I know who you're with, I know how you're getting there, I know what you're drinking, I know what you're eating, I know, you know what I mean? Now, everybody says, well, they just shouldn't look at it. That argument is over. That just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. And so now you have this young person sitting all alone all weekend feeling miserable. And yeah, so the beast has been unleashed. But I will tell you this. I've thought long and hard about this, and I thought, what are we going to do to help our young people? And my feeling is the beast has been unleashed around social media, and I cannot control what young people do at 2:00 in the morning in their bedrooms. I am not with them. So what I do feel, though, what do I have control over as an educator in their life, is service. Giving young people as much opportunity as possible to be involved in service. Finding ways to give back, because when you do that, what you get in return is this incredible gift of perspective. It doesn't matter. Your eyebrows look great. We don't need to watch 400 TikToks to figure out how to do your eyebrows. But let's go and actually volunteer at a homeless shelter and see what it's like to not have a meal. So I do feel that the way forward for schools is going to be through service, because I don't know how you combat all the other stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I think also that just really flips your perspective too. So you're not
Mhm.
focused on yourself, but rather you're focused on others. And I think that changes everything. All right, I want you to tell me more about your family because you're not a first generation educator, are you?
No, so my mum and dad are both teachers, and actually, there's quite a lot of teachers in the family. But I will have to say, growing up, coming home every day, watching my mum and dad sit down, have a cup of tea, and debrief their day. Now, there is an education. Because you would kind of get the behind the scenes of what really happened, you know. And there was so many stories. Like my mom worked, and my dad actually as well, but my mom worked in a really under how what would you say, like underprivileged, underserved, maybe
Maybe underserved.
yeah, underserved, like just an area that has struggled economically, and was just a bit of a legend in her time. And one of the great stories, I always remember her telling my dad this story, and I would be sitting on the edge of the couch like it was a theatre performance, listening to it all. And she told this great story. I'll say it quickly just now. So it was really, really cold in December, and all the children used to have to line up outside. They wouldn't just go walk in the classroom. So they all had to line up outside, and then the teacher would come and let them into the classroom. But it was really, really cold, and it was freezing, and the snow was starting, and she was standing in her office, and she was watching all the kids line up, and there was this one boy, and he didn't have a jacket on. And she got a message to the boy to come to her office. And she said, "Oh, hi, hiya." And he was like, "What is it?" He's a real tough cookie, because he had to be. He had to be. He had to always be on defense and ready, because his life circumstances had essentially trained him for that. So she was like, "Hiya, come on in, come on in." He's like, "What is it? What do you want?" She's like, "Listen, I found your jacket." Because she knew she couldn't say to him, "Here's a jacket for you. You don't have a jacket." And he went, "I've not lost my jacket." Now he's standing freezing. It's snowing. He doesn't have a jacket. And she said, "Where's, that's not your jacket?" And he goes, "No, I've not lost my jacket." She goes, "Oh gosh, I was sure that was yours." And she makes up this whole story. "I'm sure I saw you wearing this jacket last Tuesday. I must have been confused. I must be thinking that's someone else." She makes this whole story up, and he's like, "It's not my jacket." He's getting really annoyed. And then she went, "Right, sorry, big mistake. Could you do me a favour though? Could you just try it on so I can see, is it that other boy's jacket that I thought it might be? He's about the same size as you. Can you just try it on?" So she tries it on, and she puts like a 50p in it, or a pound, in the pocket. Tries it on. And he goes, "Oh, this is my jacket." Because he can feel the money in the pocket. God love him. And she goes, "Is it?" He goes, "Yeah, that is my jacket." And she goes, "Oh." And he starts then believing the lie. "I had it on last Tuesday. I was wearing it." And she's like, "Yes, that's right." "Oh, now there you go. Great. Oh, I'm so relieved. I was going to have to find whose jacket this belonged to." And she does all this. Anyway, she goes back the next day. She looks out her window. It's still snowing. All the kids are lined up, and he's got a jacket on. But stuff like that happened all the time, you know? And to me, I'll just tell you one more wee thing about my mum. When she retired, they had a big do for her and a big party, and it was this wonderful event. And everybody stood up and said all these really nice things about her, But a few days later, she said to me, did you notice anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And what it was nobody said to her, "Listen, Gwen, see that homework policy? That was fantastic. See when you worked alongside the Scottish Government to develop this, that was amazing. Or see me did this with the council, that was brilliant." Nobody said that. Everybody said how kind she was in their hour of need. And now, she's a tough person. She's formidable. But when she had to be, she knew the right thing to do. People were remembering, when I had my miscarriage, you were actually phoned me and you were so kind to me, or when my marriage was breaking down, or, different life stuff that happens to people every day. And I always remember that because, see, when, you're in your work and you're going about your day, it can actually be quite easy to forget to be kind and to remember that everybody's actually fighting something. You just don't know about it, and you might never know about it, but everybody has got some battle that they're taking on in life, quietly or loudly. And a little bit of kindness is so important, and they always say that about like Christmas times, that kids often remember the feeling of Christmas, not necessarily all the stuff,
Right.
which I really hold on to as a mother, the feeling that you create. But anyway, so I can't tell you what that was to grow up with. And my dad as well, just the kindest gentleman you've ever met, and so smart, such a well-read man. So I think I was so blessed. I was so fortunate to grow up with such good parents. I really was. And now being older, I really realize that actually was worth all the money in the world,
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. They just sound like lovely people. I guess so off of that, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Gosh, I'm not sure. That's such a hard one.
Hey, I like throwing in the hard ones.
It's so difficult. What legacy? I don't know. I do think it's probably not something very grandiose, but something that she was kind, and, she admitted her mistakes when she had to, and she always gave her best, did her best. And she believed in people. I think I know that I've had lots of people believe in me and my journey, and that has been incredible. And I've had so many amazing opportunities that I think if I could in some way help other people find opportunities, I think that would be a great thing to be remembered by.
I love that. And all right, last one. What advice would you give to women who want to be leaders in education?
Go for it. I would say know your craft, really do your work. And then what will happen is you get really confident because you really know what you're good at. Don't sweat the small stuff. And surround yourself by one or two people who are like-minded, who are really, who inspire you, who make you want to raise your game, who make you think, I could do that. Yeah, let's go. Who cheer you on. People who really are your champions. You don't need a crowd. You just need one or two people in your life to say to you, you've got this, because sometimes it can be a bit lonely. And education is a massive, massive world. And there's so many things you can do, and especially now, like I think there's so what, kind of what is possible since COVID has actually been blown open. So there's so many innovative, cool things happening, and you can make it a long life career in doing lots of different things in lots of different capacities. It's a privilege to be with people on their learning journey, and remember that.
That's a good one. It's a privilege to be with people on their education journey. I love that. All right, last one. Who do you know that I should interview next?
My sister. Are you allowed to recommend? Is that allowed or not really?
Oh, of course that's allowed. Hey, I said anybody.
Okay, she is a mover and a shaker. She is a physicist. Dr. Dickson is her name. She has done tons of research around women in academia in the Middle East. She teaches science to science teachers. She's published loads around why there's so many women science teachers but not enough women in science. She is a huge advocate of science and women. She's a really fantastic person.
Well, especially after talking to you, I can't wait to meet her.
Great.
Well, Emily, just thank you so much, and I'll hope to get to meet you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, come to Vienna.
Oh, I can't say no to that, can I? Thank you for tuning in to Emily Dickson's episode of the Scholarly Sisterhood. Check out the episode description to learn more about Emily. This episode was researched and hosted by Anna Blankenship. And as always, we thank our editor, Lizzie Walker, and our writer and supporting editor, Emily Sanders. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you share this episode of the Scholarly Sisterhood with a woman in academia you know? Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode filled with stories, insights, and expertise from remarkable female scholars from around the world. I loved hearing about Emily's parents, especially the story about the boy in the jacket. I think it goes to show that the decisions you make about how you're going to live your life can be passed down generationally. Thank you, Emily, for sharing your story with us.